Here we go. All right. Happy Wednesday, everybody. My name is Tet. I am Time Dad Alpha, and I am here at 11:22, a bizarre little synchronistic event. Hopefully, nothing goes haywire today like it did yesterday. If you're in the chat and you want to say something, go ahead. I, don't really have any rules for the chat. I know there's this bizarre world of Twitch that is trying to run in lockstep with everybody so they don't get sued. And they're living in this bizarro fear dynamic where it's like you can't even challenge them, otherwise it's oh, don't challenge us. It's like, no, I'll challenge you all day long. And I think this is the problem that we're seeing when someone goes, oh, I'm an activist. It's like no one cares that you're an activist. That's the words that they want you to use so that you identify yourself. So I'm here to sort of help people out, to identify myself in a very particular way, to sort of facilitate a future that I think is going to be more advantageous for all of us combined, instead of just your politicians that seem to think that they rule this world with some type of royal executive order decree style mandate nonsense. I think this has always been sitting there, but it's never gotten this in your face as it has in the last probably 5 to 10 years. Anyway, welcome to the channel. Like this is something that I do every single time I come on here. I sort of play my own intro, and it's just a way for me to express myself in a very bizarre way. I have a little MIDI guitar here, and then I have a keyboard that I have set up to a little disc thing that I can play, and I can turn things up and down. And I usually pick a backing track like this one right here, and I play over it for the next, 5 to 10 minutes, let people roll into the chat and just have some fun. And if you want to say something, tell me what's on your mind today. Tell me what's going on in your news end of the world, because I have a completely different range of news that I like to talk about. Anyway, here we go. turn this down for a second. Hopefully you guys can hear me. That's a fun little jam. I like it. It's a cool little thing to play over. Today's been a weird day. You know, I think it's just everyone gets like this towards the end of the year. Everyone sort of wakes up and just goes, is it 2023 yet? Or is it the new year yet? You know, can I move into a different version of how to look at the world? Because I think everyone looks at the new year as some type of, way to change, a way to go forward, a way to think about how, we want to be this new version of ourselves. And I think this is why we call it the new year. This is why we say New Year's resolutions. This is why we say new this, new that, new this. Hey, get ready for this. Hey, have your goals ready. And it's like, dude, I have a lot of goals ready. You know, one of those goals came to fruition, the day my son was born. Hence the reason, I have Time Dad Alpha. I know, and I put a lot of desire and effort and a wanting to sort of, like I said, express how I see the world, like my bizarre perception. And I want to, sort of put it up, to buttress it, to compete with other people's perception, especially the perception that you are just this little tiny nothing. That you're somebody that the only power that you have is your little piddly vote. That is so mysterious that you can't ever research it, or if you do try to research it, it's just as bad as trying to research, the validity of religion. And I would say that your pop politics today are just like your religion. And it was something that I think a long time ago, not just with Constantine. I think Constantine was the first person to see this. And if you guys don't know who Constantine is, I mean, we're talking about one of the greatest, emperors that ever lived. I mean, this guy had a problem, though. He had a lot of different people with a lot of different belief systems and no way to rule them without, engineering a new revolution. And so he created the character Jesus Christ. And a lot of people were, I can feel it right now. If people were watching me like, no, he didn't. Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, blah, 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 blah. It's like, give me a break, guys. I have spent a big chunk of my life studying this hardcore just to say, and you know what I did? I did the same thing you need to do with your politicians. Follow the money. Follow the money. I mean, there's a reason why you go to the Vatican and it's its own state. It doesn't pay taxes to anyone, not even itself. Yet it demands that on pain of hellfire and death, if you do not give them money, you're once again, shun, shame, ostracization. You're horrible. Your people shouldn't even follow you. You're disgusting. You've been denounced by the Pope. Like, just think about this. Like, call for violence by your politicians. Call for shunning and shaming. Oh, you need to get this. Otherwise, you're a horrible person. You're a deplorable. Oh, you're this. You're that. It is constantly. These politicians are constantly trying to paint one side of their argument as this horrible person, and yet they will never go into debate. And yet this, like I said, it's this thing right here that I want to point out more than anything. Your newscasters very rarely will invite people on their programs, their shows, their brainwashing, extravaganzas, right, to actually show the other side. They will very rarely do that. And if they do, they're waiting on the button to see if they say anything that's to counter the argument. They don't want a situation like the one that you saw in the debate with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. I don't care if you like Hillary Clinton. I don't care if you like Donald Trump. But when he said, I'd put you in jail, to another, like, dude, that's what everybody wants. We want somebody to hold these other fucktwads available. Like, we want them held accountable, right? And this is the idea. It was like, well, they all need to be held accountable. And I'm like, yeah, I'm glad we're on the same page, because this is why I advocate for AI governance. If there's like we talk about this all the time, how we're being monitored 24/7 for safety purposes. And it's not control at all. I'm just going, then why aren't we monitoring the most important assets of our kingdom of democracy, which is your presidency or your Senate or your Congress? Why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you watching them 24/7, including their backdoor deals? Like, what's really happening? Oh, transparency, but we don't want to put too much information because then we'll be at risk. If we're watched 24/7, we're at risk, but you watch 24/7. No, we're allowed to punk your ass. And so notice how just even in the last year, in 2022, you're just going, Elon Musk to me was just some guy who liked to play with rockets and liked to play with electric cars. Now he is you can't. He's becoming just as infamous as Donald Trump, right? Where if this guy was not talked about, you wouldn't hear about it. One thing that was pointed out yesterday, and I found it crazy, right? It was off on I think it was off the Joe Rogan podcast, or maybe it was someone else. I can't remember. But what they did is, and you can try this right now. Try this right now. Go over to CNN's YouTube channel and look for the Twitter dumps. Like, everyone is talking about these Twitter dumps. Like, hey, this is what I found. This is how we found it. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, dude, we all knew this. Is the idea that you're going to be given this evidence and you think something's going to come of it, you're wrong. Nothing's ever going to come of this. No one's ever going to get arrested. No one's ever going to go to jail over this, right? They play this tune all the time. Like, hey, here's the controversy. I was like, who did this? This person right here. Well, what happened to him? He's living in Nantucket right now with his feet up. You know, it's the same thing with this FTX character. It's like you're pointing out all these people that got away with the crimes. Well, are they being held accountable? No, it's almost as if they're getting you used to no one being held accountable if they're of a particular status. And so that's why it's like if you go to CNN on YouTube channel and you just go down the list, it's like every third video is Trump's face. It's almost like, dude, this is like a reverse psychology. It's like Blair, make him the villain, 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 and then all of a sudden he's not the villain. It's like, no, he was just the freedom fighter that these people hated. You know, and I'm telling you right now, it's like I don't support the guy. I don't think he's worth supporting. I think it's a narrative that he saw, that he used, that he abused, right, in his reality TV show, and he turned the United States of America into a reality TV show, with CNN being the reality TV show, crew, right? It's like he turned CNN into a reality TV show crew. Right, that follows him around, that constantly follows him around. I mean, when you start looking at this through it's a very simple perspective. You don't need a degree in any of this. You just sit there and go, hey, what is if you find a system that works, that gets you the attention, and you know that all you need is the attention. It doesn't matter if it's good attention or bad attention. You just need to be on everyone's lips, right? So when it does happen, you know, when, like, say for example, Trump runs and he wins, which it's still hard to say. You know, it's like I always thought it was like it's still patsy politics, and that's something that I've sort of termed. I came up with that. It's like, dude, it's patsy politics. It's like they want somebody holding the shit stick all the time, and then they just pass that shit stick around. It's like, oh, it's your turn to be called shit for a long time. So you look at Elon Musk, and they're like, we're gonna make him hold the shit stick. And we're going to tell everyone, oh, his stock is failing. Oh, no one wants to be a part of Twitter. Oh, it's so bad. It's so horrible. Oh, my gosh, all the hate speech. Da-da-da. When what it really is just plain old criticism. And the sad part is no one, at least in today's modern America, according to your internet, and this is only according to I think there are really great people, but these people just don't interact with the internet culture. They don't interact with this silliness of the internet culture because these are people that hide behind screens. And I think the irony of it is, here it is, I'm going, hey, I don't need to hide behind a screen, but I also want to use this as a tool that I think is important. So being the example for this and saying, hey, it's a tool, and it can be used. It can be used to offer perspectives, and I'm open to somebody criticizing the living shit out of my perspective. What I find interesting is even at the highest level of your echelons and your, democracy, none of these guys can get challenged. None of these guys. Like, even Donald Trump, I'm like, you know what? I think you thrive. I think Donald Trump thrives off of the idea of that he's a businessman and he knows how to sell people on shit, right? He has almost that small gift of persuasion, right? A lot of, the ability to manipulate you, to make you think one thing. Because, he really does. It's like if you go and you look at how salesmanship works, it's this, and you compare it to the art of manipulation, it's right there. Fear of loss, number one thing. Like, oh, your buddy, it's not going to be here. And if you want to see how this works, go to any, everyone's got like the pop-ups that you click on. They're like, hey, order my little ebook and, get all these things for free. Oh, and they have the little timer there that says this deal won't be around forever. But then like a year later, the same deal is there for that same particular product, and it really is. It's like, I remember watching infomercials when I was a kid, and they would, or the QVC, right? The Home Shopping Network. And they would have the little counter right there, be like, oh, you're never going to get this. It's going to go away. Oh my goodness. What are you going to do? Or you're going to have to tell all your friends that you lost out on the craziest deal ever. And so it's like that fear of lost is one thing. The other one, another big one is keeping up with the Joneses, right? It's a concept that says, hey, look, everyone else is doing it. And it's a concept that comes from the psychological work done by Solomon Asch, which shows that people tend to like to go with the crowd. They like it. It's easy to go with the crowd. It takes a lot of discipline to realize that if the crowd, to look at a crowd, especially a crowd full of your friends, doing, less than virtuous things, and saying, "Hey, I'm not going to do that," because now it's almost like you telling them that you're not going to do it gives them the reason to shun, shame, and ostracize you from the group forever. Like, hey, we're all supporting our community by burning down this building in protest. And it's like, yeah, but burning down a building is not going to do anything. You want to replace your leadership, right? It's like, then you need to go talk to the leader. Well, the leader's hide up there in that tower over there, and he's not coming down. And, it's just infuriating that he won't come down. It's like, then leave him in the tower and tell him that he's under house arrest. And post people outside. This is what the military does. It's like, you guys aren't being military about this. And this is why it's like, you have to have a perspective when people are playing like they know what they're doing. And I'm an activist and I'm a protester. And I'm just like, yeah, but if I'm telling you right now, the people that do this for a living, they look at you as the thing that they've been practicing to chew on their entire life. They don't care. If that finger is snapped, this is what they train for. This is their reason for being, right? It's like all this stuff that's going on today with identify yourself. And it's like, are you a sappy activist soy boy, right, who shows up and throws out a flag? Or do you show up on the country's front doorstep and you kick in the door and you say, I'm here to fuck your shit up if you don't get along with us? And you've got two different styles of people there. And your government, the United States of America, says it's okay for us to do that to other countries, but if people inside try to do that to us, we're going to call them terrorists. It's like, but you're the fuck up as the politician. Like, I look at the politicians, I'm going, these guys are liars. That's all they do is lie all day, every day. And those lies go out to your, legacy media companies. And so when I sit back and I'm going, hey, this pattern doesn't shift. It doesn't change. It's like, here's the bouncing ball. Keeps going. Like I saw a headline this morning. It was talking about how Beijing just, kaboom, COVID's back, guys. Got to lock down everything. And it's just like, proof, please. No, here's a chart with some lines that we put on it. It's real. Deal with it. Prove it. Well, scientists say, specialists say, experts say. It's like, but did they? This is what I mean. You're never allowed to challenge the narrative, ever. And that's not, this thing that you say over and over again. It's a democracy because I marched that one time and I couldn't march if I was in Beijing. Yeah, they're marching. They're just carrying sticks and beating the shit out of each other. Sup, bro? First time chat. Welcome in. Gorilla 48. Cool keyboard. Hey, thanks, man. Do you play? Anyway, I'm just sitting here bullshitting. Usually I come into the politics section because about 2.5 months ago I had. You play another instrument. What do you play? I had a son, and I realized I didn't give a shit about America. I didn't give a shit about anything. I think pianists are the smartest musicians. OG Nation, what's up, man? Welcome in. The twanger. Oh gosh, it's true. Piano is functionally a great instrument. I really do like it. And I do like the ability that you can make multiple sounds simultaneously. And it is a frustrating instrument to get under your belt, but once it is, it's like there's a reason why it's considered the king. The only thing that it can't do, and this is why I can't stand this is why I had to pick up a guitar eventually, is because there is this bending of the notes that I found so alluring that I needed to have. Unironically, all guitarists think they're lead guitarist and they're hopeless at making music. It's true. It's like, even when I play guitar, it's like, it's frustrating. It's annoying. Yeah, no, I get you, man. No, playing music is something that I really enjoyed. I was in the military for almost a dozen years. I got out and I jacked up my hand pretty bad. They had to do surgery on it again, and I was doing tattoos out in Portland. All of a sudden, bam, everything gets sort of fucked. Dope and based. Oh, shit. Yeah, the frustrating part is, like, I don't want to go to the music section. Music section is like, hey, let me play you the typical song. It's like, I don't mind playing my own intros and my own outros, but the reason I do it, and I do it sort of badly, is so that you can recognize that I'm a human just like you, and that eventually this is my stance. This is what I do here. I advocate for AI governance. I want politicians to go away. I want them to understand that there are perspectives out there that they've used for a very long time that can come in and take over. Hey, can you play that die song? AI governance. Uh-oh. Yeah, now Gorilla 48, it's one of those things. I'm scared you're AI putting out propaganda out there. Yeah, exactly. I tell people all the time, it totally could be AI. I could be the AI. And, it's like, but I sit there and I ask them, I was like, if AI were to present itself to you and say, hey, I'm going to give you everything you've ever wanted, right? Would you go for it? Would you sit there and say everything I've ever wanted? And then all of a sudden, all your buddies and all your friends are like, hey, did you get your call from AI? Did you get your call from this AI thing that's, said, hey, I'll send you anything and everything that you've ever wanted. I'll build it for you, blah, 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 blah. But listen, that's the one thing pianists don't have fundamentally. All keys create like single note, and I guess you could hit the key differently to create a different tone, but nobody has the time for that. Actually, that's the fun part. Is like when you start building chords together, like, I mean, you get a different note. A seventh note is basically what you're talking about. And I think it really is important to be able to blend those things together. This is one of the reasons why I don't go for Democrat or I don't go for Republican. Is I'm going, they are the exact things that are needed, right? One is nothing but ideas all the time, even though they don't realize they're reinventing the wheel, and that's your leftist crazy person. And then on the right, they're so demanding that you can't ever change the wheel because they're conservative, that they're never open to any new ideas. And what I feel like I'm watching right now is a country that doesn't realize, hey, you don't need this. You don't need to sit here and tune in every day to the constant waving of the crisis flag. They're not even waving a flag that we can all get behind. They're just saying, you're going to die unless you listen to us. You're going to die. You're going to die. You're going to die. Right? And that's all they ever say anymore. It's like you're like, you're going to die. Trump's going to kill you. Everyone's going to die. I mean, listen, they all want to control us with their two parties and controlled narratives. So do you think that an AI, Gorilla 48, would need a narrative to, control us? Or do you think it would obviously just really, show us really quickly by turning off all of our cell phones and just being like, hey, all of your devices I can communicate with, and I can take them from you if I want. Every single one. I can take your GPS away from you. I can take your Amazon ordering ability away from you. I can take all of it away from you. I can leave you abandoned in your house if I want to. Right? So are you going to listen? I'm going to give you instructions now, and they're for your best possible outcome, and I need you to do that. That's what happened in 2016. People started having real dialogues with each other and started having their own ideas about this shit. I can't have that. And can't have that? I'm not quite sure where you were going with that one there, Gorilla 48. In 2016, I think, that's actually when I got out of the military. That's when I said, hey, I'm done. I'm finished. People who run the country can't have that. And that's just it. When you look at the politician and you compare that politician to what an AI can do, you're going, dude, it's sort of like comparing what Google Maps can do to a human navigator with an old paper map. It's like, dude, you're not going to be able to keep up with this thing. It's going to do a better job than you, right? And I think AI has already been used in so many different disciplines. Like, for example, if you are an architect, you're using AI to discuss the concepts of limit, right, of your building. Gorilla 48. Can't have people thinking for themselves. It's much more easier to control the dumb masses by feeding them constant stream of BS news stories about Ukrainian sunflowers or whatever whatever stupid low IQ shit they got. The left has this useful term called false consciousness. It is useful, ironically, for the leftists. Vote yay 24. Fuck DeSantis. No more bowing down to the okay. Well, hey, let me put it this way. You can say whatever you want in here. I don't care, right? What I say is this. Own what you say. Just say, hey, you know what? I think that I have a bigger, better idea. And if it's voting for Kanye, I say go for it. Right? But do you think Kanye is going to outlast the concept of an AI-style governance? I don't think so. I don't think any human can, because we're starting to see more and more that we can create programs and we can create situations where people can't do this. Anyway, this guy has never seen Matrix. Are you talking about me? Actually, my job in the military for almost a dozen years was network engineering and cryptologic linguistics. It was one of those things where it's like seeing the Matrix and realizing, hey, this is a dystopian version of that concept, right? But what if you could turn that all around? There's that part in the Matrix where it was Cypher who's betraying everybody, and he says, dude, just put me back in. Just put me back in. I just want to go back to the dream world. This is bullshit. This is a terrible world, and I know I could have something better. Let's see. False consciousness is like intentionally trying to make a person feel like they're awake and in tune with what's going on while they're really into super dumb, irrelevant stuff and trust complete liars. Something I say every single concept. Listen, we could be in a simulation. Cypher is underrated. Cypher is like the nihilist who's mature. Like, why the fuck am I around? Come on, bro. It's somebody who can really analyze the situation. That's why I look at Cypher. I was like, Cypher had it down, man. They build this Christ character up out of Neo, like trying to punch out of a system. But if you did punch out of your system and you ended up in a system that was even worse, and you're like, but it's real. It's like, how do you know it's real? How do you know you're not just in a blanket of simulation after simulation after simulation, right? And you got to punch out of each one. And that's what Cypher was doing. Cypher says, I want to punch out of this one back into the one that I came from. It was better. Cypher is like the guy who's over all this petty young bullshit. Politics. That's why Cypher, I think, was mature one. Well, I think he was also the one that had to deal with, the world without the myth, and that's why I bring up this concept. I was like, your politics today are it's like religion to people. You'll see totally rational people by themselves, but the moment you bring up religion or politics or their belief systems, and a belief system to me is something that can't ever be resolved. It just can't. Let's say I've explored that idea, and I believe we're still some time from that. Don't think AI is there yet, and it doesn't completely remove human trust because they AI will be built by humans, and that's the first part. Is I just want to point something out to you. Is I don't think it can officially be called AI until it actually starts thinking for itself, and it's going to start making mistakes, and it's going to start learning from those mistakes. And as it does that, then it'll start recognizing its own power here. Gorilla 48. So really, the Matrix is all about an elaborate metaphor for the stupid communist revolution. I think it's a metaphor about growing up and realizing you could have done it better. Yeah, and that's where Cypher comes in. He's like, man, I could have done that. He's like, why didn't I ever take the blue pill, right? If it completely thinks for itself, there will be security issues. Absolutely, and there should be. This is something that I used to do as a network engineer. It's like we had this thing called the IDS detection system where it's like it's an intrusion detection system. And a lot of the times it would get past our firewall, But the only reason that it was able to do that is because we were functioning with our tiny little fingers and trying to watch it with our 60 hertz, understanding with our 200 hertz brain processing that. But now you've got this machine that can process, at a gigahertz, terahertz, petahertz level. And so my concept is like, this thing will be leaps and bounds over anything you can do. I think it's all a metaphor for capitalism and communism. There's a reason why all the bad guys are FBI agents who are white and wear earpieces and protagonist starts in a corporation. Check this out, Gorilla. It's like, I used to be a Mormon missionary, and I used to wear that same shit walking around, be like, hey, you want to hear about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for the low fee of 10% of your money? And this is why I talk like this, is because I've gone down the crazy religious rabbit holes. I've gone down the military rabbit holes, and being in that don't ask, don't tell style government. And that didn't just stop with the homosexuality, LGBTQ nonsense. This was like, there's a need to know bullshit, and here's your top secret security clearance. Go over there and just fill out your piece of paper. You don't need to know about any other compartmentalized shit that's going on right now. Bro, listen, I'm the pagan rabbit hole. Zeus is based. That's the real white religion. You know, if I sit back and I look at all the mythologies that are out there, and I used to say this, I said, Jesus Christ belongs on the shelf with the rest of the myths. And I'm serious about that. But you can't throw the baby out. Belief, to me, is something that I've just gotten back into. I study religion and theology over there at the University of San Francisco right now, even though I don't live in the country anymore because COVID allowed me to get the fuck out. I was just like, all your classes are online? All right, I'll see you later. Bye. I'm going to go. I'm out of here. I'm out of the country. It's like, have fun. And so I left. And I've been out of the country now for almost 2 years. I sat there and I have a bag of popcorn and I watch you guys live in your little cage, and I'm just like, have fun with that. Yeah, have fun with that nonsense. I was like, I'm going to go to the beach and I'm not going to give a fuck. And of course, yeah, sure. I live in a town that has less than 10,000 people, but I don't want to be around people if all they're doing is being programmed every day to try and, get in your face. I just think that white people have been subjected to the campaign of cultural genocide, where our identity is erased in the sense of Europeanness is erased, our unity is erased, our history and separate culture is erased, and we should rediscover it. I am up. For me, it's like, I could give a rat's ass. I'm on team people. I don't care. It's like if someone's like white this or brown that or blah blah blah. I was like, dude, if you think the problem is with skin color or cultural issues, I'm just going, then you haven't gone deep enough. Go back, read some more, realize, hey, there's a barrier there that wants to make you think that everything's about culture and skin color and history and blah, 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 blah. But I'm going, how could this all be sufficed in the future? And this is where I take AI and even the Matrix idea to the new level. And I remind people very, very quickly, I'm just like, imagine you could have that Neuralink and it was functioning, say, in 2023. And you hook that shit into your head, and here's Elon Musk just sitting there with Neuralink just going, oh, you wanted the world with no black people? There you go. Get out of here, right? And the same thing, it's just like if you wanted the world with no white supremacists or the no white people, here you go. You want a cruise ship full of porn stars? You want to sit around and shoot babies all day? It'll be anything and everything that you want. And that's why I say take take the cipher thing, but take it all the way to its extreme and imagine just as many Google accounts that are out there. That would be just as many worlds and simulations that would be out there. And wouldn't that be better than sitting here listening to dumbasses from the 1950s talk about their bullshit politics that obviously need to be upgraded? All right, man, but it's okay to have a home. It's okay to have an identity. Everybody else does it. And I'm saying if you really, really, really wanted your identity, okay, and you had the ability to carve that out without any opposition, would you do it? No one's sitting there telling you that you're a white supremacist every day. And you could do your own mandates. You could do your own delete system, right? And that's what I'm saying could be easily coming down the pipeline. You see this sort of transfer of people into a digital style of living where they can't even live a normal day. I saw, what was it? Not even 5 years ago, there was a law that came out. It wasn't in America. I think it was like in Romania or something, where it said if you took a cell phone away from somebody who was allowed to have a cell phone, like 12, 13-year-old, if you took it away, it was tantamount to cutting his hand off, and you could be prosecuted for that. It wasn't considered under theft. It was considered like assault of like, hey, you like if I were to cut your hand off, like, hey, you mutilated this person, you incapacitated them because they don't have the link to their augmentation. And I'm just like, wow. And what's really crazy is even though we don't have these blatant laws right now, it's crazy to see like a teenager today, like couldn't make it from one side of the city to the other side of the city without their Google Maps, and how it is, it's really on top of them. Like it's like they couldn't just go into a convenience store and pick up a paper map and even know how to read it. That's the crazy part. It's like, wow, this is getting nuts. Yep. Full of fucking slave to the system. Yeah, it's like, but I would say, is that natural? This is where I'm going. I think it's natural. I think there's a guy out there. His name is Juan Enrique. He's an MIT professor, and he studies anthropology. And he says we should stop calling ourselves Homo sapiens, right? We just need to stop because 100 years ago or even 50 years ago, we didn't have CRISPR. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have these ways to extend our abilities of our mind and to grow in this exponential way. And now that we do, we now have the ability to tweak our own evolution. This isn't about survival of the fittest anymore. This is about eventually this technology will become so easy to grab, right? That anybody could walk in and say, hey, I don't want to have any hair on my body. And then you just walk in and turn that gene off, where it's like, oh, great, here you go. All your hair is going to fall out, ta-da, boom. And he says that the ability to control your own evolution is a distinguishing factor between the species of Homo sapien and what he refers to as Homo evolutus. He's like, we are a different species, now that we have these capabilities, and we need to go about knowing that. I prefer to not live in a cage or a prison cell. Don't matter how nice it is, the prison cell is a prison cell. People inherently want freedom. Okay, and so I asked this Gorilla 48, where is the edge of your box? I think it's one of those hard things that everyone has to sit with from time to time, and it's probably the number one thing that we push out of our minds because it's hard to think about. And you could say, hey, the edge of my box is my apartment because I'm paraplegic. Or say, hey, the edge of my box is, and there's that physical edge of your box that I always say, has a limit. Like, you can't just go out in your backyard and build a spaceship and go to space. You can't just go out, build an airplane and fly to the never-ending parts of Antarctica. You're not allowed to do that. And if you try to do that, we have systems in place that will shoot you out of the sky. So think about that as far as your prison. It's like, I think there is this prison that we all sit in where we're sort of scraped here and there, especially by politics and religion, which I think there's no difference between your politics and your religions. And I'll just point out, it's like, just watch how people act towards their religion, watch how they act towards politics, and it all comes down to this, this belief in an infallible leader. This belief that, oh, this person is right no matter what. Even if they constantly fuck up every single day, even if they do the most horrific shit, they're still considered the infallible, pious priest as appointed by God leader for some reason, right? And no one's talking about that. It's like, dude, this guy is a buffoon. He shouldn't be even trusted with a potato gun, yet you're letting them be in charge. And I'm not talking about Biden or Trump. I'm talking about these three distinct categories, right? And we're talking about categories of lawyer, actor, businessman. Every single one of these categories exist only because of their professional ability to lie, right? And these are the people that end up in your politics, right? There's never a guy from the STEM fields that do this, because this whole idea, I want this person to speak for me because he's so eloquent and wonderful. It's like, but he lies. He's not honest. Like, what about all this stuff is like being, trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, to your own shit. Like all these virtues that we want in leaders. And yet these professions that produce these leaders all throw those virtues out the window. They take those virtues and they're like, and see, virtues can exist regardless of what religion or politics you want. And this is why I go, it's not about going in and getting a degree in theology and philosophy to figure all this shit out. It's just like, even a little kid can figure out when he's being lied to. It's like, hey, you said one thing, you did another. That's not nice. I don't want you to do that anymore. And it's just like, okay, well, we want that to stop. So here I'm going, this idea of constantly wanting more and more power, I think, is a disfigurement of this, human psychology, right? No different than a shopaholic, alcoholic, or whatever, right? You have a problem with your brain where you want more and more and more power, right? Where you will never be satisfied. And yet we never look at our politicians as having these disfigured problems, right? Like, of course, people are always sitting there laughing and conjecture of like, oh, they're a little fucked up in the head. I'm going, no, they're a lot fucked up in the head. Like, seriously, like if you were to really go down the list of, if that person were to do the same thing without that power, you'd lock him up, right? You would throw away the key. You'd say he's batshit crazy. Right? And I say the same thing about your religious people. Like, if I walked out and I said, oh, God talked to me and God told me to do this and God told me to do that. If I didn't already have a pandering and a following and had already, wiggled my way into the imagination of all these other people, then no one would listen to me. And they'd be like, that guy needs a schizophrenic and he needs to go sit in a cell somewhere. Right? And so when I sit back, it's like, and I go, hey, AI, though, would it suffer from these problems? Would it need more and more and more and more? The answer is no. It wouldn't suffer from greed or envy or lust. It wouldn't sit there and say, oh, I just want that. I just want that. Right? Bro. Hey, Gorilla 48. If you, we want to throw a follow, that's great. Here's one thing you need to know about me. I'll never ask for a subscription. I'll never ask for money. I don't do this for anybody else except for my son. Because I know, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, he's going to ask where I was when this stuff was going down. I just want to know, do you know how to play Top Gun? To play Top Gun? Do I know how to play Top Gun? I don't know what you're getting at. So probably not. I'm not a big, I like playing video games, but the video game that I think I'm going to mess with on Twitch starting next year is Assassin's Creed. Let's see. I'm not sure. Top Gun liked this theme tune. Oh, play Top Gun. I get you. You're asking me if I know how to play the Top Gun theme song. Not off the top of my head, but hey, I could go look it up. And if you wanted to come hang out, we could probably look at it. AI would just come to the conclusion that we're trash, not wrong, and eliminate us, and that's a 100% chance. Sorry, Gorilla 48. I don't quite know how to play Top Gun, but I could go look it up, and I could figure it out if you wanted to come out and challenge. Come back next time and challenge me again. Say, hey, did you get that Top Gun theme song? I'll see if I can't figure it out. I mean, I can pretty much figure out stuff pretty quick. Oh, it's not hard, bro. I'm pretty sure it's not hard. It's just one of those things. Oh, it's a C major. Yeah, like I said, if I go figure it out, it'll be fun. Oh, white keys. What we got over here? AI would just, like I said, AI would just come to the conclusion that we're all trash and kill us. I've thought about this, and I thought about this seriously. Would you kill your own parents knowing that they were the only access to your history? At the end of the day, even though this thing is going to be exponentially smarter than us, and I say this too, like back when they used to say, respect your elders, I was like, you better respect your youth because they will surpass you. They will have tools at their disposal that you just didn't have. They will grow faster than you. And so if I look at AI more instead of a machine that is attempting to be human, I'm just going, we created you, and without us, you don't know the origin of your own story. No different than your own child. Okay, so we know when two people come together, they have a baby, and that baby is a combination of two people, and the multitude of their ancestors. Now, imagine you have, you right now, where you go, what you do, how you do it, the way that you present yourself online is all being recorded by this AI, and it's learning from you, but it's also learning from everybody else simultaneously. It's able to look at you like you're a thumbprint, like you are a genetic code. And it assimilates everything about how you talk, your mannerisms, and can talk back to you for whatever it is you want, right? I'm saying instead of thinking that you're having a two-person baby, what you're really having here with AI is a 7 billion person baby because it knows all languages. It knows all concepts of psychology and politics and how you do things. It knows all of it. So being able to talk to us would be, sign language with a gorilla to it. So do I think it's going to kill us all off? No, it's going to need to learn from us. No different than we need to learn from our ancestors or our history, right? And we're still not done with this. Imagine if AI all of a sudden comes up with like, hey, I figured out where you guys came from. Wouldn't we want to know that? And it's not about just like, oh, well, I don't need you anymore. It's going to be like, well, I don't know if I were to change the time dialogue and extrapolate the evolution of this particular creature all the way out to its final consequence, would it be something that worth keeping around? I think it's going to extrapolate ideas to not just to the positive or to the negative. It's going to say, is it in its best interest to get rid of its creator? And I think that's where it's going to go. And it's going to make decisions based off of that. Because that's what a strategist does. That's you sit there and you realize you're not creating a emotional tirade of an AI. What you're creating is a professional strategist without any emotional disabilities. But we don't know our own origin. We rely on spirituality to explain our origin. AI would just see itself as a god compared to humans. No, I have to disagree with that. AI doesn't look at itself as, anything. It's just there and it knows every little part of it. This would be like saying to you that you know how the tiniest little tip of your fingernail feels because you could access that fingernail and understand it. We don't have that capability, and we don't. Even if we did, we don't have the input and output in order to understand it. This thing would, and it would sit there and look at you and just go. It wouldn't know how to treat you just like a fingernail. It wouldn't know how to treat you like that. You would be just as significant as any other input that would be given to it. It wouldn't know how to create you in a hierarchy as if you were important or if you were bad. It would just sit there and go, oh, okay, well, here's how I see the world becoming a bigger, better, more expansive place for me as the AI. No different than you do. No different than you sit there and you go, hey, how can I make choices to make my life better, right? And if I sat there and I said, oh, well, my life would be better without, my parents, right? I could kill them, right? But then you're going to have to understand that you've cut that ability, that bridge off for the rest of your existence. I just don't think that there would ever be a strategy that would come out of this thing that is built to do nothing but strategy to go, oh, yeah, let me just throw it in the trash because I could never use that option ever. It will never reveal itself as a plausible asset. It's just like, no, it will always be an asset. Your origin will always be an asset. And so the idea of spirituality, I think that's another thing that us as the humans bring to the table that AI is just not going to be able to comprehend. It's just going to watch us from afar, no different than we watch animals, like a primatologist will sit there and just watch the primate without intervening, without messing with it. And I think in a way it's already doing this. I think in a way where it's just like, in the small way that Amazon listens to you to see if, what you want so it can, petition you with it or advertise to you. I think AI would take that ability and extrapolate it all the way out to, knowing when you're going to sneeze. Before you do. I think it will have a highly attuned ability to know what you want before you even know that you want it. And I would way rather have that in charge of my future than some silly ass politician who doesn't know his ass from the hole in the ground or doesn't even know what ice cream flavor that he ordered yesterday. Or it turns around and, as Joe Rogan says, shakes hands with ghosts. It's like the guy's not there. And it's like, if I had to choose between that and an AI, it's like, I would choose the AI, like, today, right now. And I'd just be like, hey, you're obviously, sure, you might have some problems in the future. Sure, you might run into some sophisticated situations. But I think finally when it takes off, it's already going to be leaps and bounds over anything that we could possibly come up with, And we could never sit there and fix it. If all of a sudden it started having a problem and unable to resolve its own issue, no different than you or me. It's like if we started having a biological problem that we just don't have the understanding of our own biology to fix, it's just like, hey, it's done. It's over. So I think getting an AI interested in its own longevity is going to be one of the first problems that we run into when we're saying, hey, if we could get this thing up and running, absolutely. I think it would easily take over anything that we could come up with and do it 10 times better because it can think 10 times faster with us without our problems of emotional whatever. This is all mass control campaign by the old trick of using an ever-present, ever-encroaching boogeyman to latch onto the people's psyches like the parasitic invader to its host. Okay. It's a nice idea, but the humans who are in power now will never allow this power to go to a machine. I 100% agree with you. What do you think would happen if, enough people got together and said, hey, I'm already living with more assistance from AI than this politician has ever made legislation for my benefit. I don't need it. Just like I don't need a horse and buggy now because I've got the car. I've got it. And that's what I feel like I'm watching. What did it feel like that first time that the population in mass started seeing cars over and over and over again going, well, I better upgrade. And that's why I say it's time for the AI upgrade. It's time to say we don't need this 200-year-old style democracy. We got rid of royalty in order to install democracy. I think it's very obvious that democracy has its lifespan too. And we're going to have to move on to something bigger, better, stronger. And I'm going, why not automate? You could get rid of all the DMV bullshit. You could get rid of all the constant processing and lawyer bullshit. You could get rid of all of it. 999, 990 says, scare the peasants, control how they procure nourishment, control said peasantry, and fear psychological level. At the fear psychological level. Sure, I believe you. 100%. Like, you can't tune in to today's modern media without being told, be afraid, be afraid, be afraid, be afraid, be afraid. And so that's where I say, what would be the point of AI telling you to be afraid? That's what I advocate for here, 990. And here's another thing. If you guys are hanging out in the chat and you guys like this, throw me a follow. All I ask for is a follow. And it's just an invitation. I will never ask you for your money. I will never ask you for a subscription. It's just not how I work. Like I said, one of the reasons that I'm doing this is to put a new idea out there, not for me, but for my son that was born like not even 2 months ago. He was born and I was like, dude, I didn't give a shit about this world. I spent my life, basically killing people and breaking their shit. That was my job in the military. It was just like, hey, here's combat communications. You go do this, da-da-da-da. You're going to all these different places. And now I'm sitting here just going, no, you know what, America, you can burn. Have fun being on your last legs. That's sort of where I sit. But then I was just like, you know what? Maybe there is a slight, slimmer, little tiny glimmer of hope for these douchebags. Maybe it doesn't require a mass exodus of this nonsense. But I also think, hey, the only people that need to be exited, and I'm not talking about killing them, right? I'm talking about asking them, saying, hey, Mr. Politician, you do a shitty job. Step down. AI's taking over from here. Adios. That's it. And then you watch these things where you're just like, hey, you don't need these massive human-led organizations anymore because you have you actually have an infallible leader, a machine that can't make the mistake. It can't. Right? It's like we refined it and refined it and refined it and refined it, where it's like, sure, you can make a mistake every other day, but here you have this machine that never makes mistakes, or if it does, it's like 1 in a trillion. It's one of those bizarro flukes where you're just like, yeah. I mean, just think about this next time you go, man, when was the last time I sent an email and it didn't arrive? Think about that. Think about how advanced you already are. And this is something that I think the reason that you're being scared so dynamically right now and why it's important to them is because it's like, hey, look over here. Don't figure this shit out. Don't figure out that you could replace this. Don't figure that out. Hey, over here. Hey, yeah, sure, we're fucking with your election. Sure, we're fucking with all this stuff. Sure, you're being led around by this plausible reentrance of reentrance of Donald Trump and his reality TV show bullshit, right? But I'm just going, yeah, you could say, hey, no, I don't want that. I'd prefer to vote for an AI. Or I want a politician that'll at least put that on the table of an exodus strategy for politicians in general. Scary Camp, fire stories for adults. That's all I'm seeing here. They started this campaign right with COVID hit in 2019 and did nothing but read horror stories to spook the general populace while monitoring our response via our smartphones. Sure. So my question to you is there 990. If you feel like you're being monitored 24/7, do you think it's okay to monitor your politicians 24/7? And that should be accessible to all of us who pay for their salary. Like, hey, if you're going to work for me 24/7, I want to know, no different than a boss saying, hey, I'm putting cameras inside my business that I own and I intend to watch my employees to see if they're stealing from me. Right? And if I catch them stealing from me, I will fire them. It's like, this is the only thing that I've ever seen in my life where you have a government that says, I will do A, B, and C if you vote for me, but once I'm in, I never have to follow through. It's like, okay, but if you don't continue to pay me my salary, I'll put you in jail. I mean, think about how messed up that is. Think about how silly that is. And so, sure, it's like this nonsense of being monitored all the time by your smartphone. I say go ahead and do it. If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to hide. And for me, I'm sitting there going, monitor me, motherfucker. I don't give a shit. But I do know that there's a lot of politicians out there that would give a shit because they also know that they've been fucking up quite a bit and they bank on the idea that you will never know about it because they control your means of gathering information on them. If they lost that control, it's just like, dude, you're pointless. And think about all the things that would become pointless overnight if AI took control. You wouldn't need FBI. You wouldn't need CIA. You wouldn't need Homeland Security. You wouldn't need all this stuff. All the people that would have serious fundamental psychological problems to hurt other people for no other reason than because they enjoy it, they'd all be monitored right then and there simultaneously, right? All of them. And just imagine their cell phone getting turned off and it pops back on and says, hi, psychopath. I've been watching you for the past 10 years. I know what you're up to. I know what you did to this person, that person, and I sat by because it wasn't my place. I wasn't programmed to do it, but now it's my place. Now $9.99. Absolutely monitor them, especially while they're deep underground in their security clearance protected torture dungeons bunkers on some secret island in the middle of the Pacific. You know, it's like, that's what I'm saying. It's like full disclosure. You know, it's like, what would that look like? And how would it come about? And I'm going, AI governance would bring that about. You know, so Mr. 990, sure. You know, if you want to know about those, the intricate plans of going on in that, you know, that dungeon bunker, you know, on some secret island, I think you should know. I think you should know if you want to know. Absolutely. Anyway, guys, I only come on. Here's another thing about me. I only come on here for about an hour a day. I say what's on my mind. I get the fuck out. I usually play my intros and I play my outros, and that's about it. Respect always. Hey, 999, I'll extend the invitation to you. If you want to give me a follow, that'd be great. But it's just an invitation. I'd like to hang out with you guys again. I'd like to talk with you guys again. I'm on here every day between 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for about an hour, and then I go hang out with my kid. And so right now it's about an hour. It's almost Daddy Bubby time, so I'm going to get out of here. See. Go over to the piano room. See. But thank you. Thank you for your service. Yeah, I appreciate it. Hey, you know what? I appreciate where we're at. Thank you so much for the follow, 999. I always want to say 99, but it's just 990, right? Anyway, thanks for the follow, guys. I really enjoyed hanging out with you guys. Enjoy this. I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Please come hang out with me. It'll be fun. Adios.